Hello, my name is Sebastian. Today I'm going to show you how I do a takeoff and landing using the Concorde. Although a lot of people don't have the Concorde, I just like flying it around. I think takeoffs and landings are absolutely amazing using it. So I'll just show you how it works, and I'm using my horizontal situation indicator again. And you can see how the takeoff and landing compares in terms of how busy it gets, because the takeoff is actually not that eventful, but the landing actually gets very busy. Besides, it's just cool watching somebody land a Concorde. Okay, so I'm sitting here, I've got the plane already started, so now I'm going to taxi over to the runway. So I need to power up and release the brakes. While we're waiting, you can see on the upper left hand side of the screen I'm using my mini map. I use that for flying and finding my way locally. And also right next to it I've got the horizontal situation indicator, and it's already set to Hollywood Airport. So almost at the runway. One thing you'll notice that I don't do, I see a lot of people do, I see a lot of people lining up on the runway and then backing their plane up right at the very beginning of the runway. You'll find generally about 99% of the planes in Second Life actually can take off on a very short runway. So here I just basically line up on the runway and I will get ready to take off right from this point, even though I'm not at the very end of the runway. So I power up to roughly about 70%. There's no need to use the flaps here. Just release the brakes. Before I do that, I'm just going to raise the nose to about 5 degrees. This is how the Concorde works. Release the brakes. And now raise the nose to take off. While I'm doing that, I'm going to raise the landing gear. Great, so we're underway now. So what I'm going to do is, like in another video that I made, I'm going to turn towards the west and then to the south, go down a few sims, and then again make a turn to the east and back to the north to land again at Hollywood Airport. So while I'm flying, I'm going to raise the nose and get to about 200 meters in altitude. So I had to make a sharp turn there because I don't like to cross sim borders that much, so I try to keep the number of sim borders to a minimum. One thing I really like about this plane is it goes to where you point it. So unless I stop turning it, it'll just keep on turning on its own, which is really a very nice feature. So almost to 200 meters now, I'm going to level out. This instrument here is my vertical speed indicator. It's showing how much I'm going up or going down, so I'm going to try and keep it level at about 200 meters. So I'm almost ready to make my turn to the east. I'm just going to slow down so I can make the turn in a little bit more rounded rather than having to make that other turn that we had to make earlier. Okay. We are just about there, so the first thing we're going to do is turn to the east. Then, once I've crossed the sim border, turn to the north and start my landing procedures. So as we're going along, you can see my compass is changing on the horizontal situation indicator. We are at 90 degrees to the east. And again, I'm going to turn again so that I can meet up on the north. Wonderful SL lag. It keeps flying interesting. Okay, so now while I'm making that turn, you can see my glide slope indicator is showing that I'm far too high. That's because I haven't lowered the flaps, nor have I lowered the landing gear. You need both the flaps and landing gear to make a good landing, because the flaps increase drag, they slow the plane down, and so does the landing gear. I'd lower my nose a little bit more. Alright, now that things are relatively stable, you can see that I'm far to left of the runway, so I'm going to try and line up by turning to the right. And I know that I'm lined up when the yellow arrow is one solid line, when there isn't a break in the middle of the yellow arrow. As I'm landing, I'm also watching the purple dot on my glide slope to make sure that it stays at the center. I don't want it to go up. I don't want it to be over the center line too much. Okay, now I'm going to turn to my left to meet up with the center line of the runway, and now you can see the indicator has turned green to show that I'm perfectly lined up. So at this point, it's a matter of letting the plane glide down, watching the glide slopes so that we don't end up too low. I'd rather end up a little bit too high than too low. You can change how quickly you fall by adjusting the power. Right now I'm at 50%, and you can see that the glide slope is actually very stable. As I reach the end of the runway, I'm going to pitch the nose up so that the rear wheels of the aircraft land first. Plus I'll reduce the power. Alright, almost there. And here we go. Going to make the landing. So what I'll do is I'll reduce the power and pitch up the nose. And a nice safe landing with everybody surviving. And that's how you land the Concorde at Hollywood Airport. Concorde is an amazing plane to fly. Hope you enjoyed the video.